Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade, kept in heaven for you, who through faith are shielded by God's power until the coming of the salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may be proved genuine and may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Concerning this salvation, the prophets who spoke of the grace that was to come to you searched intently and with the greatest care, trying to find out the time and circumstances to which the Spirit of Christ in them was pointing when he predicted the sufferings of Christ and the glories that would follow. It was revealed to them that they were not serving themselves but you, when they spoke of the things that have now been told you by those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven. Even angels long to look into these things. Therefore, prepare your minds for action. Be self-controlled. Set your hope fully on the grace to be given, and when Jesus Christ is revealed. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, "Be holy, because I am holy."
Thanks very much, Margaret. Let me introduce to you our guest speaker today, Geoff Andrews. Geoff is just here on the front row here. So Geoff has very kindly come to address us today on this special occasion. And we wanted someone who would have some sort of link with the church. That seems odd because Geoff's never been here before. But Geoff works for an umbrella organisation, which means that we're not alone as a church. We're one Baptist church of many. And right across the whole of London, there's something, is it 300-ish Baptist churches across London? And so we form like one great big Baptist family in London. And Geoff heads up the London team. So we're really grateful for Geoff to come and speak to us. So what's the connection? Well, the connection is that 85 years ago, this church was planted in conjunction with Wimbledon Baptist Church, as it was in those days, today called Everyday Church in Queen's Road, and with the London Baptist Association, who put up the money so that we could be here. So we're very grateful to, as it's known for short, the LBA, for their investment in us all those years ago, and I hope they think it was still a good investment. So Geoff, Really pleased that you can come, and we look forward to what you have to share with us this morning. Thank you, Geoff.
Well, it's good to be with you. I've been in this job for about 18 months, and I'm still getting used to where everything is. I know South London reasonably well. I was pastor of Perry Rise Baptist Church for 17 years, which is in southeast London. So I don't feel as I'm venturing too far out of my kind of home territory when I come to southwest London. It's when I have to go to sort of northwest London that I kind of feel I've gone a long way from home. It's good to be with you. It's good to think of ourselves as part of a wider family of Baptist churches. There are 300 Baptist churches, and we see it as our aim as a London Baptist Association to celebrate the life that's going on in those churches. And we want to do that more and more. We haven't done it as well as we might do, and we're actually in the process of working out how to do that better. And there are lots of ways of doing it these days. And so we know that. We hope that many of you will be able to come on the 6th of July up to Oxford Street, Regent Hall, Oxford Street. We're going to have a London event. It's entitled The Way Forward. And we'll be celebrating our life as an association, looking at the way that we want to go. There'll be some good things happening at that. We've got the Trinity Baptist Church choir singing. We've got an Andean worship group from one of our churches. We've got the Reverend Lynn Green, the new General Secretary of the Baptist Union, coming to speak. So a lot happening. Launching of our new website, various other bits and pieces that we're doing. But I won't spoil everything. But if you can come along to that on the 6th of July, it'd be good. There's been some information around on that. And we're grateful to you as a church for actually allowing Keith to be one of our district ministers. We rely very much on district ministers across London. There are district ministers all across London. They have a kind of responsibility just for encouraging, small groups of churches, probably 6 to 10, something like that, trying to get the ministers together because, so that they can be supportive of one another and supporting churches too in the stuff that they do. He's a happy bunny today, isn't he? So, as I come here today, I actually find that, this is a special anniversary for you, 85 years, and I don't know about you, but, you kind of celebrate those 5 years and the noughties and the fives, And I actually have something in common with you, because actually I celebrate a significant birthday as well this year. And so I thought, I bought some bubbles. I thought I'd blow a few bubbles just to celebrate. And there's a cake here. I'm 60 this year. In August. 60 years old. So I thought I'd blow a bubble in celebration. So that's not very good, is it? Let's try some more. Yeah, see if we get 85 of them, sure. So we're celebrating lots of things. What do you think we celebrate when we celebrate birthdays? What do you think we celebrate birthdays? Another year that we've kind of achieved, perhaps, yeah? What other things do we celebrate at birthday times? Yeah? Crazy, we just didn't excuse it. It's just to have a celebration. We have a cake here. We have one candle when you've got too many to have. We celebrate. As churches, we actually get together. Can you hear me, by the way? Because I'm aware that I'm walking away from the microphone. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate what God has done over the years, that we've kind of survived things. I look back over my years of life and I think, there's one or two things that I'm surprised that I managed to survive that. Some of the silly things I did when I was a kid, and I'm still here to tell this tale, which you can laugh about now. But when you think about it, you think, my goodness, another couple of inches the other way, and I wouldn't be here to tell that story. As churches, we thank God for lots of things. We thank God for the people who have gone before us. The people who had a vision to plant a church. And I was very excited when you think about churches when they're so old, so 85 years old, and you think of the people that had the vision and collected the money and did all the stuff and built the churches. And sometimes we need to be reminded of that, because sometimes we can lack imagination as churches, whereas these people didn't lack imagination. They really had vision and drive, and they were doing that. So, that's what we celebrate. Lots of things to do with that. I just want us to just think about one or two things this morning, and I'm going to ask you some questions and for you to be involved in that. I want us to think, and if you have the next slide on the... Here you are. When we come together as a body of people, we come together as a special people. That's what that reading is telling us about, that we're a special people because we have discovered Jesus. Well, what does that mean? Let's have the next word that comes up. Press the... Yeah, special people. We're friends. How many of you got friends? Have you got friends over there, Girls Brigade? Yeah. Friends here. What do we have friends for? What are friends? What's good about friends? Yeah, you tell me. So you won't be lonely. It's good. Yeah. What can we rely on with friends? Friends help us. That's right. We talk about lonely, not being lonely. What's the great thing about having friends around? Anybody over here? What do you do with your friends? Play. What else do you do with your friends? Talk. Have them round for a meal. Yeah. Or they might even have you round for a meal. Yeah. You spend time together. Yeah, that's right. And actually, that's really what it is to be a Christian. What we discovered as Christians is that God is our friend. That sounds a bit strange. How can it be somebody who you can't see and you can't touch? How can God be a friend? But actually, that's what happens. God's my friend. Now, he's a very different friend to all the other friends that I have. He's very, very much not like me, but in many ways, he's very close. And God is somebody that I like spending time with. Sometimes I don't speak. I'll just sit down and I'll just say it's good just to be quiet and know that God is with me. Sometimes it's good to talk to God. You can talk to God just like a friend. And there are times when God actually speaks very gently to you. Not sometimes in voices that you can hear, but sometimes in your mind, or just sometimes like just God's presence is like that. God is a friend. And when we were reading that passage, it used 3 words to talk a little bit about God's relationship with us. The first one, if you can click again, the first one is mercy. It's mercy. It said that God is rich in mercy. That's a crazy word, isn't it? We don't use mercy anymore. What does it? Anybody any idea what mercy means? Any guesses? Yeah. What do you think? What? Grateful. That's something. That's a word that could be great. It's very near that actually. Grateful. Acceptance. That's another word. Yeah. You see that God is merciful. It says God is rich in mercy. How many of you do everything right? Oh, there's one person. Yeah. How many? The fact is that we don't. How many? Let's have another. You can all put your hand. Well, perhaps apart from one of you. Oh, that's terrific. Great. Oh, yeah, that's marvellous. How many? Let's think about this. How many of you mess up? Okay. How many of you mess up even though you didn't want to mess up? Yeah, that's right. You tried to do the thing that you wanted to do, and then it went wrong. You know. Have you ever been in one of those situations whereby you wanted to say the right thing, or you wanted not to say the wrong thing, and you ended up saying the wrong thing? Have you ever been in that? I shouldn't have said that. I knew I shouldn't have said that, but I did. And we do that all the time, don't we? We're that kind of people. We just know that we're people who mess up. And what we find is that because God is merciful, because God shows mercy, God says, I know that. I know that you messed up. I know that you didn't mean to do that, but you did it. And what God says is, I still love you. And that's what mercy is.
Mercy is God who says to us, even though you mess up, I'll still talk to you, I'll still embrace you, I'll still walk with you. So that's the first word. Let's have the second word up there. The second word is he's given us new birth. Have you noticed how the trees look good at the moment? Yeah? Do you like the leaves on the trees? Who likes the leaves on the trees this time of year? And they were so late coming out this year. Did you notice? Oh, goodness. When are the leaves going to come on the trees? When is winter ever going to end? And look at it now. The leaves are out. And have you noticed how bright and fresh and green and new they look? I think it's terrific. My wife is a midwife. Job. She's still a midwife. She works 3 days a week as a midwife. Wife works out of King's College. And you know the thing that she loves doing most? Guess what she loves doing most as a midwife? New babies. I think they look horrible. All gooey and sort of crinkled. But my wife thinks that new babies are absolutely beautiful. That's the word she used. And she's delivered hundreds of them. They're all beautiful. New birth is beautiful. New birth looks fresh and new and wonderful. And it's got energy to it. And what we discover as Christians is that we're people who've been given new birth. Those things that we mess up on, those things that we regret in our lives, they can hang about us a bit. They make us feel guilty and we just don't feel, oh God, I can't talk to you. But God says, look, I still love you, and because of Jesus, I've forgiven you. And I give you new birth. And we're new and fresh, and there's a new life in us that comes from God. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's the second word. We've got new birth because of what God has done for us. We don't deserve it. We know we mess up, but God says, look, I just want to keep giving you new life. I keep wanting to give you the new life of Jesus. The third word, with the word hope. What do you hope for this year? Anybody got any hopes? Do we hope for summer? We've been spoilt a bit. We had about 4 days of warm weather. We hope for lots of things, don't we? We hope that we have a good holiday. And we hope that the dinner's nice today. Some hopes are, I'm certain it's going to be okay. But some hopes, that most of our hopes, we're not really sure. You hope that you have a nice day to go to Brighton next week, don't you? I hope you do too. But realistically, we're not sure what the weather's going to do. But when the Bible speaks of hope, it speaks of something absolutely certain. It speaks about what God is going to do through Jesus. That the thing that God set in motion by sending Jesus to us is actually going to take place. It's absolutely certain. And we can be sure of that, and we live on the basis of what God has done for us. Let's have the next slide. Click. That's it. The trouble is, whilst we can know God's mercy and that he loves us, and whilst we know new birth, and whilst we have hope, stuff happens, doesn't it? Stuff happens to people who believe and people who don't believe. And by stuff, I mean bad things. You see, when you become a Christian and you decide to follow Jesus, it doesn't mean to say that you might not ever get ill or that bad things might happen to you. You know, in my life, I've had quite a lot of bad things happen. You know, sad things. My brother died about 2 years or so ago with throat cancer, and it was horrible. He was younger than I was. And I have to spend time with him, seeing him suffer like that. That was really tough. tough on his wife and tough on his family. I've got lots of friends. I've had lots of friends who've died of cancer. So many people. And you sit down with him and you pray and you say, oh God, why does this happen? I wish they would be better. There's only one person I knew who survived from cancer. That was my wife, who had breast cancer about 15 years ago. And it was sad. My daughter's boyfriend and then husband, actually, he died of leukemia. He was 30 years old. And it was very sad and very hard, you know. They got married on my birthday and he died 4 days later because he knew he wasn't going to live. It's sad. But everybody has bad things happen to them. Even if you're a believer or not a believer, bad things happen to you if you're a good person, or even if you're a not so good person. Somehow we think that if you're a good person, they shouldn't happen and it should happen to bad people. It doesn't seem to work like that. It just happens. And bad things happen in the midst of happy times. You know, life can be going swimmingly and bang, something like that happens. And Peter, when he writes, he said, you know, even though we know new birth, even though we know God's mercy, even though we have these things, we have trials that we have to face. So what keeps us going in trials? He says, you know, it's the very presence of Jesus. And these verses, though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with inexpressible and glorious joy. When stuff happens, I've found that knowing that Jesus is with me has been the most special thing that I could ever imagine. My brother was a believer in Jesus, and he was unable to talk towards the end of his life. One of the things he did manage to communicate was that he knew that he was in touch with God, that Jesus was with him, because Jesus has risen from the dead. Jesus is alive. And though we don't see him, and though we can't touch him, we know his presence. And as Christians, that's one of the most precious things that I have to say in my life. That's special, being a special friend of God, knowing those kind of things that are so important in life in difficult times. But then there's just one final thing I want to say, and perhaps you could put the slide up. We have an enormous privilege in knowing God. We celebrate 85 years of being a church. Actually, what we celebrate is 85 years of faith, of people down the decades who have known this presence of Jesus that has kept them going in the tough times, that has kept them going when things haven't been going at all well. But they've known and they've held on to the risen presence of Jesus Christ, and they've known he's there. And what a wonderful privilege. You know, I consider it a privilege to be a Christian, to have come to know God, to have known that touch that God has reached into my life and said, Geoff, you're my friend. And I said, you know, I've accepted that. And that's an opportunity that everybody can do. They can accept that truth, that Jesus loves them, and they can know that presence. But alongside it is a responsibility. It's their responsibility to live out of God's grace, out of God's goodness to us. To say, well, God, you know I mess up, but I'm really going to make an effort not to. And I'm going to work to live my life in the way that you want me to. And I'm going to make a difference so that I can be the presence of Jesus. I'd like to be the presence of Jesus in the place where I work. I'd like to be the presence of Jesus in my school or college. I'd like to be the presence of Jesus, to take that which you put in my heart so other people can feel it too in the places where I find myself. I'd like to be a blessing. I would like to think that Merton Park would actually say today, we want to bless this community. We want to be a blessing in the places that we find ourselves, because God has blessed us with his free grace and mercy and new birth, and we want to bless other people. And that's a responsibility, but something that flows out of knowing God. So I pray that our friendship with God may flow out into the streets where we find ourselves, and that those of you who may today be experiencing tough times, that you might know the presence of Jesus in your life today. Let's pray together.